Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome to our review of Silence of the Lambs. This is Arianna's first chance to get a shot to watch it, and I already introduced your name, so I guess I'm also Chad. So, what did you think of Silence of the Lambs?
I loved it.
I'm glad.
I loved
so
it.
Good.
Absolutely.
Isn't
It was so good.
good.
Also, you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
It's The Silence of the Lambs.
I knew that. I forgot when I was talking to you, and I totally was like, I was walking out of the room.
The
and I was
Silence
like,
of the
I think
Lambs.
there's a the in there, but no, just in case.
But can they please, not a reboot, but like a part 2? Like,
There is.
Is there a part 2?
There's actually a lot of
trash?
parts. This is like, no, actually.
It's good?
There's also, did you ever hear of the show with Mads Mikkelsen called Hannibal?
Yes, I've heard of it, but I never watched it.
So that's like...
My friend got really into it, and it's yet again one of those times where someone was like, you would really like this. Have you seen this? No. Yeah. So I'm not going to watch that.
Nothing quite reaches exactly this level. Because this one's just like, it's double cheeked up with awards. It was an unbelievably good movie.
So good.
And I think everybody who was in it was like on their A game.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Performances.
There was an earlier movie that was more closely, it's a book.
Right. I saw that it was a book. Yeah.
Right, and that one was called Manhunter.
And I didn't know that.
And that's more based on kind of a prequel story that they did do a remake of that's called The Red Dragon, and it takes place like before this. Silence of the Lambs would kind of fit in the middle. And then the third one is, I think, just called Hannibal. Okay. And that is like the immediate follow-up of him kind of escaping at the end of this one, right?
Ooh,
so I think you would like
I'm gonna dive in deep into
I would highly recommend, especially
God,
Red Dragon.
I don't need any more crime shows or dramas or anything else.
Do you remember
that was
okay, so let's kind of get into what happens in this movie and work our way through it. So how's it open?
Clarice running through the woods.
What
Quantico.
What were you thinking? It's kind of fun trying to figure out what's going on there, right?
Where she was running, like, I figured when I saw it, like the label pop up, like Quantico, Virginia, I knew it was FBI. You know what I mean? But I think that pops up pretty early on. So like, cool, she's on a track that she's doing. Like, I was like, wow, she's in the middle of the woods on an obstacle course. That's kind of tight. Yeah. Because also it would just be tight overall to go through like FBI training. But
well, and also it's like there's a big thing of kind of like, okay, little lady, like, you know, you can sit down kind of feeling going on with her. And,
I comment on that the whole time because they like.
Well, that's what's there for. It's not there to be ignored.
I know.
That's why it's there.
So then they pull her in there like, hey, so you're going to go talk to this man and you're not really doing anything. You're just going to go talk to him. If he works, like, I just need you to like observe him. If he's sketching, what's he sketching, drawing? Which I hate to say it this way, but it's very apparent from the beginning that she is a pawn in a lot of these bigger plays.
Interesting. Okay.
But like, I'm not saying she's not like useful or like she definitely comes in. She comes in incredibly on her own. It's just I don't, and I know it's to set the view of her anyway and how it is and set the character up. But it's a very much a repeated theme throughout the movie, though, too. For certain things. I
feel like it's almost set up in the beginning because the fact that she's new, everyone is interacting with her that way. So the FBI is trying to utilize her in a way that she's not familiar with. Hannibal Lecter is trying to use her in a way that she's not familiar with. So everyone is kind of trying to, like, you know, spin her. But at the end, she kind of turns it on all of their faces.
Absolutely.
It's interesting with her kind of like, we get to kind of watch her go through a crucible of, by the end of the movie, she's like a true blue, like one of the better, you know, success rate detectives.
Exactly, absolutely.
Case. And she starts as like a trainee, like she's barely even actually.
Which I didn't know. So that was a lot of things. I think it's so weird. Like, I love going back and watching these movies because a lot of the movies that we have definitely watched, especially me, it's like so many key moments that are in pulp culture that are referenced. So like, you can live under a rock and still know the line, hello, Clarice. You know what I mean?
Them, right?
So it's always interesting to me because in your brain, even though you haven't tried, subconsciously you've set up in your brain how you think it's going to go. Like, I thought she was going to be an established detective. I thought it was going to be a lot more, less focused. Like, it was just...
Very true.
Caught me off guard in so many ways. And it was so good. And I'm so here for it. But,
well, and the big thing he tells her, too, is, like, don't approach the glass or anything.
Don't approach the glass.
And Hannibal is such a mind controller. He wants to make people do...
Come to him. Exactly. And when he was like... so when he gets down there, okay, yeah, exactly. so from jump, when she gets to Baltimore, that man's at the way that you're staying in town overnight, it could be a fun time. Ew, you're nasty. Bye. And then try and talk about how you are like an expert on him and this, that, and the other, and all of a sudden, shut up.
Oh, yeah.
You.
Yeah. And he just
So I hated
sucks.
that.
And he
So he
also, like,
sucks.
the only reason he knows anything is because he does, like, illegal practices of,
I was like,
recording
none
him
of
all
those-
the time. Yeah,
I
it's
literally
all
was like,
illegal.
no.
Yeah.
Where are your ethics, man?
A lot of it is considered...
You're one step away from Lecter,
jail,
sir.
you know. A lot of it's considered torture, you know.
Absolutely. That's what
actually... Yeah, she has to get through kind of like this den of goons, and it's kind of like based on how everyone else is. It's like she's going into the underworld, and you're like, oh, what's she gonna run into? And then you see this perfectly mild mannered looking man, but very creepily standing like.
He comes across mild mannered, but let's get something very straight. His presence is menacing, though. His stare, his everything, how he plays that is incredible.
And maybe mild mannered is the wrong word. I'm thinking more like everyone else seems like
out of control,
right?
Essentially.
And so he seems so sophisticated, I guess, and kind of like polite. But yes, it's also what I love is the stark differential of everything else looks like a dungeon, and then his room is this bright light. And again, he's standing there like he's waiting for her.
Absolutely.
But like no one would have went and told him, you know, that she's coming. So yeah, immediately like he just wrests control of the reins of the
sense
energy.
Of smell is creepy.
Oh, that was creepy too. That was really.
You sometimes wear this scent.
Yeah,
but you're not wearing it today. I'm like, oh,
Jesus,
sir.
I know.
That would stress me out. I like how all that was done. So their first interaction is cool and like gives him a little bit, willing to take it, whatever. After the Migs incident, that was the grossest thing. I was like, oh,
yeah,
girl, I'm sorry.
It makes me wonder if that didn't.
Extreme.
It's out of control extreme.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder though if that didn't happen because he like is like, hey, come back.
He calls her back. He's like, I do not appreciate what he did. That was fucking rude, basically. Yeah. But because I'm going to give you this information about that. Because I feel like also I think it was him. I think he generally thought it was fucking rude and not sophisticated and gross. And like,
he killed him later.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, no, you don't behave in that manner. And let me also test how smart you actually are too.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if
it's him building his profile from jump.
Would she have walked away with nothing that day if that didn't happen? So it's almost like a kismet situation, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like that too because she understands him pretty well by the end as well. Because like one of her friends is like, "Oh, you should be worried, like he's loose or whatever," and she's like, "No, he wouldn't kill me. He would think it was rude." Like, it's so good. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Like, no, he's not after me at all. Not a chance.
It's like he definitely is one of those like very intense, high level kind of fantastic serial killers who like has a very exact kind of system. That first set of clues, doesn't that lead her to the
storage unit?
And how stressed out were you on the storage unit?
Bro,
like, don't go in there, girl.
I was like applauding her every step of the way. I was like, yes, smart, go get a jack, yeah. But I was like, you really gonna roll under that fucking door? You're going in that fucking blind? And he gives a card. Yeah, we're gonna. Can you pass this card along? Because I don't come out. I'm like, girl.
Yeah, that's what she said. Right? I like that she was at least thinking it.
Yeah,
you know? She's thinking what you're thinking. Like, if I don't. And then she finds the head in
a jar, which is also so odd in the first. Like everything about that is like really weird leading up to it because you're like, what's she gonna find? So this gorgeous like retro car, and then it's all set up, and then mannequin head, and then just a head in a jar, and I'm like.
And it makes me wonder because that's when he now establishes that he's like, oh, that guy's probably connected to, Buffalo Bill. And it makes you wonder, like, have you just known for the whole time, like, are you pretending to be like, oh, well, maybe it's Buffalo Bill? Or like, as soon as you heard maybe from the news or something, like, you've always known. It is interesting to think about, like, how much he knows at any time. Because we definitely know later on he just straight gives false information because he's trying to give, like, weird side clues. And also because he's offended and irritated. This starts the quid pro quo relationship, right? Where he's kind of like, I want to know more about what's going on with you.
So when she goes and has the deal on the table, after they go and have a conversation about the head, she comes back and they have the deal on the table for him to like transfer, get a window, whatever.
Right.
That's when he's like, I was on a ranch. What type of ranch was it? Sheep and goats or whatever she had said it was. Yeah. And he tried, at first he was like, oh, the rancher was basically a predator. And she's like, no, he was a very sweet man. Then why did you leave? And she wouldn't buy in. So he gave her whatever information he gave her. And then fucking Chilton.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's the big thing for the scene that gets you out of the like listening in or whatever, which again, super illegal.
Oh, what we just missed though too is when when she goes back to talk about the head is when Miggs is dead and he like makes her talk and he's like, yeah, when you leave they're gonna turn this gospel the whole way up the TV or whatever, and then the lights don't go, and I'm like, that's definitely not ethical. Right. I definitely say it watching too. I'm like, that's not. That you're not allowed to do.
Yeah, the reason I want to hone in on that scene is because it's so. I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, oh wow, that was the first time that kind of got me a little bit like, man, even the system is always more evil. Like
it is.
I kind of feel bad for this guy.
No, that's where I got caught like that like 6 times. And I was like,
and he literally eats people.
Yeah. That's what I said. I was like, how do you have me out here rooting for a murderer to take you out?
Yeah. You're like, fuck him up.
Like, when he's in there talking about the shit, I'm like, you better get that pen and stab him. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's what you're thinking, right? You're thinking like, oh, okay, it's going to be that simple. It's like, no, he's got plans.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So then that's how he kind of gets, like, portrayed. And then they take him. They try to do the transfer. Mm-hmm. And then he offers the Lewis Friend name, which ended up being, like, an anagram for chemicals or something like that.
Oh, for Fool's Gold.
Oh, yeah, Fool's Gold. That's
Fool's Gold. And I was like,
mm-hmm.
My dude.
Which again, Clarice figures out. You know, so she's not just a babe who is like trying to figure out, and other people are having to figure things out. Like she's the one who does drive like the story forward, which I think is
the moth finding, like her being like there's something in their throat, and them trying to be like, no, it's just leaves and twigs. She's like, no,
it seems like there's something more in there. Which something also like, you know, if you're a serial killer, maybe you should try to avoid the super hyper rare doesn't grow in your region kind of to moth thing to leave in people's throats. But that's just me. I'm just saying.
I feel like everything has a little bit of a narcissism complex.
We're now into Buffalo Bill is collecting people. And it's hard because like I haven't seen it for the first time in a long time. Is it readily apparent what he's trying to do with the women right away? Do we know before Clarice, or do we figure it out when she figures it out?
But, I mean, it's very, to me, like, you're only taking certain parts and pieces, and, you know what I mean? Right. Like, you're doing something with that skin.
So what's fun with his character, like, in a real-world sense, is he's borrowed from a handful of sources. So, can you name any?
Well, the whole way of getting the senator's daughter or whatever she was into the car, that's Ted Bundy right there. Exactly, fucking in a fake cast. Motherfucker. I'm like, you do not get in the van with a man. You do not help a grown-ass man in trouble lifting something. Stop. Ted Bundy told us this.
You're about a size 10 or whatever he says, or 16. The other one is Ed Gein.
Ed Gein with his nipple belt.
With his nipple belt, that was it, right? And so this one, it's just the bodysuit.
Yeah.
I also like how even, like, I think Chilton tries to say that, oh, like, he's transgendered, or, like, the FBI guy does, and then Lecter's like, well, no, he thinks he is.
He thinks he is.
He's something else.
I am very much more upset, though, that they didn't go more into detail of that, because I wanted to know more.
It is interesting.
I wanted to know more.
I think today
but that's just me and my brain, and the fact that I almost went to grad school for forensic psychology, so I, like, Manhunter, all that shit, like, all the behavior, like, Quantico and itself is, like, the mecca.
Also, as much, if you liked that part and you wanted more, then I think Hannibal would be a bit more up your alley.
I'm gonna have to.
So then,
Buffalo Bill,
yeah, it puts also lotion on the skin, or else it
another thing I will say this. Another thing that was like with that is like I've heard the line obviously multiple times, but to me when he says it's something else and he's not transsexual, he's something different, but like might be, but he has learned to hate his body. I found it very interesting because this is right after the mom puts out the like basically to humanize her.
Right.
And like keep saying her name and keep saying come across a person. He kept calling it puts the lotion on skin. Like 100%. A complete deficit of
no, it's absolutely true. Right.
This, you know what I mean?
He doesn't even refer to her in the second person of you. It's like he's referring like he's talking over here. Yes. And I expect you to overhear me, you know? Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so I felt that. And then he did kind of have a breakdown when she started yelling for her mommy. So that was interesting too. Or he just has a creepy laugh. I couldn't figure it out.
But, I mean, he definitely has a breakdown when she grabs the dog. So it's not like he's completely devoid, you know? And that's the thing I like, you know, when Starling goes to his house, he seems a little odd, but who doesn't when the police show up at your house?
Absolutely.
So I do like that they didn't try to make him seem like he was a Martian. It's like, no, it's like there's enough
He's been getting by for this long undetected.
Right. Like, otherwise he would have been caught a million years ago.
But...
he would have been caught in high school if it was, you know, something like that.
Ooh, I did love that. What do you covet, though, in the simplicity? Like, it's not, I love that build up, too.
And that's what gets her to the right house.
Yep.
You know, when all the other FBI think that they know what's going on. And yes, I love that because it's Lecter. What does he say? No, what starts him asking about the coveting thing?
He's like, what does he covet? He's like,
but why does he ask that? That's what I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, no, because I just watched this too, but there's so many intriguing, complicated parts that it's hard to piece together. But she's talking to, when he brings up the coveting, he's like, what do they do first? And he says, it's because he has anger. He's like, no.
Right, yeah. And so she has like one last chance to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And he covets. And so then with her friend, that's when she
was like, it's simple. He's like, he finds the note.
Every day.
Yeah, you cover the things you see everything. And then he finds the note. It's like, this looks almost too random or whatever it says. And they're just like, oh, hometown. Dude, first victim's from his hometown. That's why he went through the effort of hiding the body. Anywhere else, whatever. And so but this one is how I can be tracked. Which I knew immediately when they're like, we're in Illinois. I was like, that's kind of close because she's going for a job interview in Illinois, but that doesn't make sense because that wouldn't be close. You know what I mean? So I was like, she's going to get it right.
And then, very intense scene where she gets to his house, basically. He figures out what's up with her. And then the fucking night vision scene.
The night vision? I was stressed. I was like, I think I even say, I was like, this has been going on for too long. I was like, you guys are keeping my blood pressure at like a real high place for a real long time. Can we take it down?
That is true.
The adrenaline is going full speed.
But she finally gets him. She saves the girl. You kind of feel like, okay, like that was the bad guy.
So that's, I feel like we kind of jumped over that part. Yo, man's a genius, which we already knew anyway. But like, he kept that pin part to pick the thing, to do the thing, to get out of the cage, to then take this man's, after he's hung one of the cops up, take this man's face.
Exactly.
Change clothes, put him in the elevator. He's on a gurney. This kills.
It turns into like an action scene all of a sudden.
I'm like, I said, no, you fucking didn't. But like, almost like, but go ahead.
Well,
but like, no, but like,
that scene when they go into the place for the first time, and the cop's got like his back all splayed out. Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Like, what is going on? Like, oh yeah, like I let my guard down. This guy's a problem, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot.
Like, homie, like,
yeah, for sure.
Yo, I was like, I don't want to root for you, but during that period, I was like, kind of want to know what's going on more with Buffalo Bill. Like, can we switch over? Because that was like a really long period where he wasn't even in it. Like how that was progressing wasn't going anywhere at all. You know what I mean?
Would you fuck me?
Would you? And I was like, ah.
Yeah, I think that
I'm uncomfortable, but
yeah, the two options are to kind of do it how they did with him, or to do it where we get more of a deep dive. But I think doing it the way they do it,
I liked it.
Well, it affords you the distance to keep him kind of creepy. If you kind of know too much about him, then he can get too common.
Absolutely.
And we're already kind of doing that with Hannibal.
Yes, absolutely.
But the thing with Hannibal that works is that he's so much of an enigma because he seems like he's just so much more sophisticated than me, and he's smarter than me. So how could I ever really understand the machinations of what's going on in his mind? And for being so obviously low in empathy, he still seems extremely, exceedingly human, you know?
Right.
He does seem like he would invite you to a nice dinner party and want to talk to you about geopolitics and stuff like that, you know? And it's like,
absolutely, it's terrifying.
Also doesn't mind, you know, it doesn't bother him to kill people.
And he just took a bite out of the one officer's face and was like, they're delicious.
Well, and that thing too is how he gets like so violent. It doesn't seem like he really has that in him. But
it's quick. Those are the scary ones.
I also think his age was really good because he was like just young enough where he still seems like he could whoop a little ass if he wanted to.
Shit was wild.
Yeah. So takes the guy's baton and just like beats him to death.
Also, in great detail that was also very gross, the literal seamstress still being in like a tub of concrete, like decaying, just sitting up.
Right.
That was fucking weird. But yeah, but overall it was great.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's about there. And then you graduate, and then you see him, and then he's off to get fucking Chilton, and I'm like, literally like, go for it! Go! And I'm like, I shouldn't be rooting for you, but I am because I hate that prick so much.
Sorry, not sorry.
He's like, oh, well, I can't give you the killer's name, but my name is. Shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, Mister, I did this by myself.
Yeah, you did. You ain't do shit.
Oh, just garbage.
Literal shit. Well, you don't know anything. He literally you refer to like he thinks I'm his worst enemy because you were a dick.
Yeah, because you have all the power as well.
Yeah.
And also, he doesn't
Man
really think
with
about
power,
you.
fucking suck.
He's just gonna come to snatch you up at some point.
Yeah.
You're not like mortal enemies. He's not gonna make a
when
thing
he's
out
like
of
in
it.
the press cover, he's got like this fur coat. I was like, you look like a broke pimp. You look like a broke ass pimp. All you're missing is like a tilted hat.
Oh yeah.
Fucking prick. And you're not a ladies' man.
Not
one bit, I'm not speaking to anybody, but his character, I hated him. I hated him so much.
All right, let's get into some comments. Rizky Efriandi said, this movie is one of 3 movies in history winning 5 big Oscar categories all at once. Best actor, best actress, best director, best screenplay, and best picture.
Oh, fuck! I knew it cleaned up, but I didn't know it was that serious.
Jesus, that is insane. And also think about it from the lens of, it's basically, in essence, like, you could call it a horror movie. It's not the kind of like Oscar-y
I would call it way
movie.
More of a thriller than anything else.
For sure. But for being a movie that kind of has a backbone of being like it's supposed to be spooky.
Yeah.
That is an unbelievable sweep. And it is. It's just very. It's my example of like if you're trying to do something that's kind of a thriller, even if you're doing genre, if you just nail all the fundamentals of what makes a movie good.
Absolutely.
You at minimum have a good movie, and maybe if it's not super scary, because it's really. That's why I didn't mind, like, I wasn't worried about you having to watch it, like, with someone else, is because, like, it's spooky, but it's not, like, it's blood-curdling.
There's, like, parts where it's like,
yeah, right.
I could do without that.
Yeah, someone in one of the comments was like, oh, man, like, she's not going to be able to sleep for a couple of days. I'm like, it's not like that. It's not that kind of movie.
Also, I'm just going to be real honest. I go to sleep to murder shows.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, for sure. Right.
This ain't shit. Now, a lot of other stuff gets me. We've seen it.
Yeah, there's no like
this
demons
is like,
or anything. It's just it's like it's a, you know, for sure. So Zelger Olorin said, Jodie Foster says that she never spoke to Anthony Hopkins outside of acting out scenes. She completely avoided talking to him on set or anywhere else, partly to make sure that the scenes together were more intense and real, but also partly because she said that he scared the shit out of her.
Honestly, I feel like that makes it everything so cool. And all their interacting like much because it's kind of the same concept too. Like if you've never really talked to Anthony Hopkins, but you've heard of Anthony Hopkins, it's like she's never talked to Hannibal Lecter, but she's talked, but she sure has heard about Hannibal Lecter. Totally you know what I mean? Yeah. So that would keep that like balance of so much more genuine and like the hesitant. And honestly, hell yeah, he's terrifying.
She also said that they didn't have. I saw a different interview where she was saying that they didn't have a lot of. They didn't spend a whole lot of time even talking to each other in the scenes because if you notice, the camera is almost directly facing their face all the time. Yeah. So they're not doing a shoulder over the shoulder. She's just talking into the camera, and then he is separately talking into the camera, and they're cutting it together kind of stuff. So they even spend less time on camera than they even appear to do. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't even
notice that element of shooting. Yeah. That makes it good, too, because it's kind of like...
Yeah,
you're watching because you're like watching them react like when I'm having conversation with you, almost real time, make you feel way more in way more in depth in the conversation,
and it starts to work its way, and then eventually when he gets really like, what exactly happened, and then it cuts directly.
I didn't even think of that. That was so well done. I was so invested by that point.
Well, that's why you're invested is because those things work.
Like, they do.
If those things aren't working, that's when you notice them. And you're like, oh, they're doing this, but like no, it sucks you in.
Yeah.
We did also kind of skip over. Now I remember. Just the movie is called The Silence of the Lambs. I think that's just a really great scene of him finally pulling that out of her.
Like, why did you run away? Yeah.
And it's like, and now it's like you're still trying to like, if you save this girl, maybe the lambs will stop screaming, kind of thing. It's like she's like Batman. She's got like this inner turmoil that every other criminal that she can punch in the turkey neck, maybe will like bring back her parents, kind of
bring back her dad.
And yeah, just that. Extremely traumatizing experience, from being a young child. I just thought that the whole thing, and it's very cool that out of that conversation is where they derive the entire title for the thing. Yeah. I just think that shows the poignancy and the importance for her. Like that's like her inner pain.
Absolutely. It's also her inner motivation too.
100% right. Yeah, like Batman.
It takes a very different type of person to be able to do that job consistently. You know what I mean? And want to do it and strive to do it and strive to be that.
And be good at it. Yeah. And also like hopefully they're into it for the right reasons, not because they're a psychopath.
Like Chilton.
Bill France brings up an interesting parallel between Ted Bundy when he was in prison. He was kind of like befriended by the FBI guy.
Yeah, because they were trying to build a profile, but that was also him trying to get off. That was him trying to get off death row, though, too.
100%.
Or extend his stay before they're going to execute him, too.
Yeah, no, he was doing a lot of that kind of stuff.
But he wasn't dumb either. He was a very smart man.
But I do kind of like that there is a precedent for like this kind of event happening in real life. Maple Divine says, "I'm jealous."
Hey, I'm jealous too, because there's a lot of MCU movies that I haven't seen yet, which would have been cool to watch in sequence of some sort. So you get to be jealous of this set.
Yeah, suck it. Shadowcat has 8 factoids. I'm going to pick one.
Okay.
Which one's most interesting?
People are coming prepared to this combo.
Yeah, they are. No,
coming correct.
A great movie. All right, so Shadowcat says that Hopkins specifically praised the scene where Lecter dresses Clarice down. Foster is sitting there taking it all in. He says that he repeatedly watched that scene, trying to dissect what Foster does, because on the one hand, she doesn't look like she's really reacting at all. She's keeping so still, but on the other hand, a range of emotions are subtly being exposed on her face. And that's what I love, too, about those two, is that, like, both of them were just... She had just won an Oscar recently. And so I just think it's cool to see, like, the equal reverence that they had for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, he's Sir Anthony Hopkins is like studying her dailies to kind of like see what she's doing because he's impressed, and she was like afraid to like interact with him because crazy. Like, oh my god,
that's how you create art like that.
Absolutely, that
when people are so dedicated, cool. And that dedicated to the craft too, that you're in it that deep, like, that's just amazing overall too.
It is super cool.
And let me tell you, it transferred to film. It did, right? Great. It was great.
I think it sticks up, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's...
At no point, and, like, you know, like, you don't feel dated. Like, there's some, like, stupid clothing hints or, you know what I mean, cars and stuff like that, where you're like, oh, this is a long ago, but it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel, you know, too much or not enough. Or it's like... It's classic. It's a classic.
When I have issues with movies that feel dated, a lot of times it's not, you know, like you said, it's not that like, oh, everyone's clothing and stuff is old. Or even the technology won't bother me. It's like, it feels like we have evolved and our sensibilities of how to do something better have changed. Yes. And this is a great example of a movie where it's like, we still don't really do it better than that. Like, that is still really,
you can never do that movie better than how it was done. In my opinion.
I'm not that strong of an opinion.
I mean, what are you going to do to there's no way that it would ever live up to a remake. I'm
that thing where it's not until you see it. And then you go, oh, that's how. I mean, because I'm sure there was one before.
Let's manifest a challenge of this. See if someone's about to be ballsy enough to remake this with the same storyline and everything else, obviously, a little bit of added. Let's manifest it. And see how it holds up, and then we'll definitely have to react to that.
I remember having like really strong opinions about Heath Ledger's Joker and being like, they should just let it go, don't even try it again. And then Joaquin Phoenix does it, and it's like, oh, if I could have thought of it, someone else would have made it too, right? You know?
I don't know though, because this is not the same thing. This is not a comic universe where they're gonna have to always keep remaking it. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same thing.
Yeah, you don't have to. But like I said, too, I mean, keep in mind, there's also this is a pretty big series, but this is
that's what you say it's a pretty big series, but off the top of my head, I know there are, even if I wouldn't have seen the Joker movies, I would know there are multiple Joker movies. Because I hadn't seen the other Joker, you know what I mean? I know there's multiple characters that played Joker.
Oh, 100%.
Off the top of my head. I didn't even know that there were more films in this series, is what I'm saying. So to take... I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that people consistently do it. The vast majority of times people try to approach things again, it's awful, but it's just like...
I just don't feel like they could do.
And I also don't even specifically mean Silence of the Lambs. I just mean another...
that's what I'm saying, though. I just feel like this is one of those ones that
drama.
Redoing it would be almost a insult to the film.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this. Let me...
Yeah. No, you're good. I didn't mean specifically a reboot. Yeah. I just mean like it's not dated because the sensibilities it has are great. I would say that like a movie like Seven elevates the same same type of movie. And is also another one that's from like 97, I think, and still totally timeless because again, we don't. But there's, I don't know, like you see a movie like Commando, you're like, we just don't make them like that anymore. We've learned that there are better ways to do action movies, And those
I see what you're saying now. I completely missed that. Because what I was saying was like the acting and how it was shot and everything else, to me, I felt like I'm saying you could take that movie and like try a type of movie like that and try. I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking very specifically about that movie.
No, because I'm normally
now I hear what you're saying.
I'm down on reboots, and that's why like I'm just leery lately to be like, oh, they'll never make anything better than Citizen Kane because it's like then they do, and you're like, and you don't expect it. That's why it's hard to predict anyway.
That's
like
true.
When they do it, you go, oh, that's how you do that. Oh wow, and then that becomes your new favorite movie. So, but again, just really impressive, really great movie. I'm glad we got a chance to watch that today, and I don't know how to sign off on this video, so we'll just go ahead and say goodbye.
Goodbye. Like, subscribe.
There you go.
Don't get weird, Chad.
Thanks to all the people who left comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you for all your comments, guys.
And join the Discord.